A quiet beach, the kind that on any other day would be measured in footsteps and tide marks, has become the stage for something else. A rehearsal for conflict, a demonstration of alliance, and a living lesson in how modern militaries train for the unpredictable. Onshore, columns of soldiers move with practiced precision. Offshore, ships take positions. Above them, aircraft wheel and drones hum through the sky. It is an all-domain exercise, air, sea, and land working in concert, designed to test not only hardware, but the often less visible ability to coordinate, to communicate, and to act together when seconds matter. Organizers describe the scene simply: what this demonstrated was our ability to integrate and work shoulder to shoulder. That sentence, plain and unadorned, is the operational heart of exercises like this. Beyond live fire displays and tactical maneuvers, the real objective is interoperability, the capacity for different forces trained to different doctrines and equipped with different systems to make common cause under the stress of operations. This particular drill is part of the annual Balikatan exercises held between Manila and Washington, a long-running series of joint training events. Around the Philippine archipelago, from beaches to jungle, similar counter-landing and live-fire training has been taking place. Organizers say this year marks the biggest iteration to date, bringing together a broader array of partners than in previous years. The drills, they say, bring together participants from 5 other nations. Among those participants this year were 2 historical touchstones, Japan and France. For many observers, their involvement carries symbolic weight as well as practical value. Officials noted Japan's true presence on Philippine soil for the drills, a development framed against the long sweep of history. France, too, sent representatives, a gesture that drills organizers described as a reflection of growing defense ties. Voices from the field made clear why those appearances matter to planners. One officer told reporters, "We are also here to enhance interoperability with our partners and allies because the military partnership between France and the Philippines is growing year on year. We are also here to develop and train joint operational procedures." That emphasis on systems and procedures, on rehearsing the choreography of coalition operations, is the quiet, steady work behind the spectacle of live fire demonstrations. On the ground, those procedures are increasingly shaped by technology. Drones, both the small, tactical kind and larger unmanned systems, played a prominent role in the exercises. Military planners described their inclusion as an intentional response to the modern battlefield. As one participant put it, the character of war around the world is changing, and we see the involvement of unmanned systems more and more in the modern warfare. So this is one of the aspects that we injected into this year's Balikatan exercise. That line captures a shift that has been visible in conflicts over the past decade. Unmanned systems are no longer niche tools. They have proven their value for surveillance, targeting, and even strike missions. Lessons drawn from recent conflicts in Europe and the Middle East, the explosion of drone use over Ukraine and the contested airspace above hotspots in the Middle East have been folded into training curricula. The Philippines, its partners say, are adapting accordingly, practicing how to detect, track, and counter unmanned systems while also learning how to employ them in concert with traditional platforms like ships and helicopters. From a tactical vantage point, these drills are about muscle memory. From a strategic one, they are a form of messaging. The presence of multinational forces operating together on Philippine soil signals a commitment to collective readiness, to deterring aggression, and to reassuring regional partners. At the same time, the optics of allied forces training together can be sensitive, touching on history and local politics in ways that require careful diplomacy. History is never entirely absent from these moments. In the Philippines, memories of past conflicts and occupations are part of the public conversation. When foreign military contingents arrive, the past and present meet on the shoreline. For some, those meetings of history and policy are a reminder of why clear communication and respectful engagement matter as much as tactical prowess. For others, they are a practical necessity. Alliances today are built on shared interests and mutual concerns, and effective cooperation requires that those ties be continually reinforced through training, exercises, and face-to-face engagements. Beyond the symbolic, the exercises serve an operational purpose that can be summed up in one word: readiness. Military planners speak of being ready for a new kind of war, a phrasing that's sign. Also, the intersections of asymmetric threats, high technology weapons, and contested domains. Still engaged in the Middle East, U.S. military planners are studying ongoing conflicts carefully, readying themselves and their allies for a new kind of war. One summary of their posture explained. The implication is simple: lessons from one theater inform preparations in another, and multinational exercises are the laboratory where ideas are tested, refined, or discarded. That cross-pollination of tactics and technologies is evident in how forces practice combined operations. Landing craft, amphibious units, and mechanized teams practice seizing coastal objectives under simulated opposition. Aviation units provided close air support and reconnaissance. Naval forces coordinated interdiction and shore bombardment. Over all of it, unmanned systems added layers of intelligence and extended the reach of commanders on the ground. Importantly, the drills were not just about kinetic effects. They rehearsed the logistics of coalition warfare: how to move equipment between ports, how to integrate medical evacuation procedures, how to share intelligence without compromising national systems. Those are the kinds of details that do not make dramatic footage, but which determine whether an allied coalition can sustain operations over days and weeks. For the countries involved, the gains are both practical and political. For host nations, the presence of partners enhances the scope of training and provides access to technologies and tactics that might otherwise take years to master. For visiting forces, joint exercises deepen cultural familiarity and create lines of communication that become critical in crisis. Exercises like these also allow militaries to test interoperability not only at the command level, but at the squad and platform level, the place where trust and coordination are forged. Yet exercises of this scale also raise questions that extend beyond the parade ground. There's always a balancing act between signaling deterrence and avoiding unnecessary provocation. Political leaders must weigh domestic perceptions, regional relationships, and the long-term goals of defense partnerships. For the military, the calculus is operational. Achieve realistic training that prepares forces for a range of contingencies while working within the political constraints of an engaged and watchful public. In the margins of the drills, conversations address some of those wider issues. Diplomats and defense officials met to talk not only about tactics, but about coordination in humanitarian assistance, disaster relief, and maritime security, areas where the region faces persistent challenges. The ability to respond effectively to natural disasters and to secure vital sea lanes has long been a cornerstone of cooperative security in the region. Exercises that strengthen those capacities are often presented, at least in public, as part of a broader security agenda that includes both crisis response and deterrence. Technology, however, is a recurring theme that refuses to stay in a single lane. The ubiquity of unmanned systems, the increasing use of artificial intelligence in sensor fusion and targeting, and the proliferation of advanced sensors across all domains mean that the character of conflict is evolving. Training exercises now must account for contested communications, electronic warfare, and the possibility that trusted networks may be degraded or denied. Practicing under degraded conditions, where GPS comms or data links are intermittent, has become essential. The goal is to prepare forces to operate effectively when the technical advantages they normally enjoy are limited or eliminated. This year's drills also provided a laboratory for experimenting with those degraded environments. Units rehearsed operating with limited connectivity using pre-planned procedures and practice contingencies. That kind of rehearsed improvisation is a core competency in modern militaries, the ability to adapt, to delegate authority down the chain of command, and to maintain tempo even when centralized control is challenged. For the soldiers, sailors, airmen, and women taking part, there was a shared sense of purpose that transcended national uniforms. In training areas, language barriers were overcome with hand signals and standard operating procedures. Liaison officers and interpreters played critical roles. The repetition of drills landing, securing a beachhead, establishing a supply line built a common playbook. And that perhaps is the real product of an exercise like this. Not a single piece of hardware, but a set of shared habits and expectations that make coalition action feasible when it matters. The drills closed with the kind of images that always travel well: Allied units moving together, a flag raised, a simulated objective secured. But beneath those images lies a more nuanced reality, a mosaic of small steps that, over time, build the capacity to act together across a widening range of scenarios. The public face of an exercise is spectacle. Its substance is discipline, coordination, and the slow accretion of trust. As geopolitical competition persists in the region and as conflicts elsewhere continue to shape military thinking, exercises like this will likely remain fixtures on defense calendars. They are practical rehearsals, diplomatic touchpoints, and signals to friend and potential adversary alike. The particular shape they take, which partners are invited, which capabilities are stressed, what messages are emphasized, will reflect the priorities of the moment. For now, the emphasis on unmanned systems and joint procedures speaks to an era in which speed of information and adaptability are as important as firepower. In the end, the beach returns to its primary functions: tides, tourists, and fishermen, but the memory of training lingers. For those who took part, the lessons are ready to be carried into doctrine, into procurement priorities, and into the next round of training. For observers, the images are a reminder that security in the 21st century is a collective effort, one rehearsed not only in command centers, but in the sand and surf, where the theoretical meets the practical. The rehearsals close, but the questions remain: will the lessons learned be institutionalized? Will interoperability deepen beyond drills into real-world readiness? And as technology continues to reshape the battlefield, will alliances move at the pace required to meet new challenges? On that quiet shore, as the sun set on another day of training, planners and participants return to the work of answering those questions, the slow, necessary work of preparing together for an uncertain future.